It all started with one loud, screeching cough. A sound so exaggerated, so hostile, that it turned heads instantly. And right there, in the middle of that crowded commuter train, Karen had decided she was above the rules, above everyone. The morning had been tense already, packed with commuters, the faint smell of coffee and sanitizer still clinging to the air, the muffled squeal of steel wheels rolling against tracks. People were tired, headphones in, eyes glazed, all just wanting to get to work. But of course, there's always that one person who thinks the universe spins around them. "Ma'am." The conductor's voice cut through the low murmur, calm but firm. "You need to put on your mask. Transit rules. For your safety and everyone else's." Karen. Blonde hair stiff with too much spray. Sunglasses oversized for 9A. Clutching a designer tote like it was a weapon. She whipped her head around, her jaw tight and snapped. "I have a medical exemption." Her voice echoed down the train car. People stirred. A few sighs. A couple of eye rolls. You could practically hear the collective thought, "Oh no. It's a Karen." The conductor, a man in his 40s with weary eyes but steady posture, nodded politely. "Then you'll need to show me the exemption paperwork. Otherwise, you'll have to wear the mask." And that's when she did it. She leaned forward, locked eyes with him and coughed. Loud, wet, deliberate. "Oh my God," someone muttered under their breath. A woman clutched her kid closer. A man yanked his scarf up over his mouth. The whole car rippled with tension. Karen smirked. "What? Scared? This whole mask thing is a joke." I felt my stomach flip. The audacity, the sheer nastiness of that move. It wasn't about health. It wasn't about rules. It was about control. Her performance was theater and we were the unwilling audience. The conductor straightened. His jaw flexed. For a second, I thought he might blow up. But instead, he reached calmly for his radio. His voice was measured, but you could feel the steel in it. "Dispatch. I've got a non-compliant passenger. Intentionally coughing. Requesting assistance at the next station." Karen barked out a laugh. Sharp and ugly. "Oh, please. What are they gonna do? Arrest me for breathing?" And the train car went silent. You could hear the screech of the wheels, the faint rattle of the windows, even the hum of someone's AirPods. All eyes on her. Then, twist number 1. A man 3 rows back. Tall, suit slightly wrinkled. Stood up. He cleared his throat, stepped forward and quietly held out his phone. The camera was recording. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "you're being recorded. Maybe you want to rethink what you just did." Karen's head snapped around. "Excuse me. You can't film me without my consent." "Oh, Ken." He shot back, calm but sharp. "Public setting. And trust me, this is going straight online." Gasped. A couple muffled chuckles. The tide in the car had shifted. Karen's smirk faltered for just a second, replaced with a flash of panic before she doubled down. Her voice rising. "This is harassment. You're all sheep." But the conductor, God bless him, just sighed. "Ma'am, you just coughed in my face. That's assault during a public health order. You will be fined." Karen scoffed. "Fined? Ah, good luck collecting." The train screeched into the next station. 2 uniformed transit officers stepped onto the car. Everyone exhaled at once, like the pressure valve had finally been released. Karen tried to bluster. "You can't touch me. I know my rights." She clutched her tote tighter, her voice high, shrill now. "This is discrimination." But the officers weren't buying it. Calmly, they flanked her, their presence like a wall. "Ma'am, you are in violation of transit safety rules. You will be escorted off this train." And here came the second twist. The crowd. They'd had enough. People started chiming in. voices low but sharp. She coughed on him on purpose. I got it on video too. She's endangering everyone. The conductor stood tall. I steady. As the officer read her the fine amount. $500. And you're banned from this line for 30 days. The collective gasp was audible. You could almost taste the justice in the air. Karen's face went red. Then white. Then red again. She sputtered. Stammered. Her hands shaking. F500. That's insane. You can't ban me. I pay taxes. The officer didn't flinch. You coughed directly on a transit employee during a declared safety mandate. Consider yourself lucky it's not an arrest. Karen screeched, her voice cracking. This isn't over. You'll hear from my lawyer. But no one believed her. Not anymore. As they escorted her off, the train erupted. Not in cheers, but in the kind of satisfied silence where everyone finally feels like balance has been restored. Someone muttered, "Good riddance." Another whispered, "Karma." And me, I sat there, stunned, replaying the scene in my head. The arrogance, the cough, the crash of her downfall. But the story didn't end there. Oh no, because later that day, the internet got her. That video, the one the guy had been recording. It blew up before we even hit downtown. Millions of views. Headlines everywhere. Maskless woman coughs on train conductor. Gets fined. And the comments. Brutal. People were ruthless. Memes. Parodies. Even a TikTok dance mocking her fake cough. By evening, her name was trending. Her face. Those oversized sunglasses. That sneer. Plastered all over social media. You couldn't escape it. I heard whispers on the evening commute. Someone said she'd lost her job. Another claimed her homeowners association had called an emergency meeting to review her behavior. Imagine that. The queen of entitlement. Now facing judgment in her own neighborhood. And the bitter cherry on top. The conductor got a round of applause at the next shift meeting. Plus hazard pay approved because of the incident. A small victory. But sweet. Karen. She vanished for a while. No more loud voices on the train. No more coughing fits. Just silence. And when she finally reappeared weeks later, mask on, sunglasses off, she looked deflated, smaller. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered that cough. Sharp and intentional, and the way she sneered at everyone else's fear like it was entertainment. And I knew, deep down, she'd written her own ending. That was the day Karen learned. You can scream. You can cough. You can fight. But sometimes, karma wears a uniform and carries a ticket pad. And when it slams you, it slams hard. So yeah, that $500 fine wasn't just money. It was a message. Loud and clear. And honestly, the sound of that train door closing behind her, that sharp, metallic clank, was the sweetest sound I'd heard all year. The first scream came from the yard. Dad. Karen took our ball again. I dropped the wrench I was holding, metal clanging against concrete, and stormed toward the front lawn. And there she was, the self-appointed queen of the homeowners association, dragging two bright orange basketballs into her oversized tote bag like she was confiscating contraband. Karen, what the hell are you doing? My voice cracked, half with rage, half with disbelief. She didn't flinch. Of course she didn't. She spun around, lips pursed like a school principal about to scold a delinquent child. These balls were left unattended on common property. She declared, voice sharp, shrill, almost rehearsed. That violates Homeowners Association Policy. Section 6. Subclause 3. I could hear the kids behind me, their sneakers squeaking against the driveway as they whispered. She can't do that. Can she? My youngest clutched my arm, eyes wide. That was the moment the father in me. Protective. Boiling. surged forward. I stepped closer, almost nose to nose. Those balls are in my yard. My property. You don't get to steal from children. She smirked. Oh, that smirk. The smugness that said she thought rules were weapons and neighbors were pawns. If you have a problem, she hissed, file a complaint. But the board supports me. Always. I let out a sharp laugh. Bitter and cutting. The board. Or just you bullying everyone until they stop fighting back. For a second, I saw her flinch. Just a flicker. Then she shoved past me. Tote bag rattling with the hollow thud of the stolen basketballs. That sound. That thump. 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 Ignited something reckless inside me. Fine. I muttered, storming toward the side of the house. The kids trailed after me. Confused. Scared. But curious. I grabbed the garden hose. Long. Green. Coiled like a serpent waiting to strike. Water pressure hissed alive, spraying out with a sharp pshhhhhhhh. By the time Karen turned back toward her car, I was ready. Hey, Karen. I shouted. She froze, tote swinging against her hip. You like stealing from kids. Let's see how you like being soaked for it. The hose blast hit her square in the chest. She shrieked. A high, indignant sound. Arms flailing as water drenched her pastel cardigan and white capris. The balls tumbled out of her bag, bouncing across the driveway with satisfying hollow echoes. My kids erupted in cheers. You lunatic! She screamed, sputtering, mascara running down her cheeks like dark rivers. This is assault. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. I roared back, hose still aimed like a weapon. Tell them why you were stealing from children in broad daylight. Neighbors started to gather. Doors creaking open. Blinds snapping back. Cell phones rising to record. A quiet murmur spread across the cul-de-sac. You could feel it. People had been waiting for someone to stand up to her. But then came the sirens. The distant whoop-whoop grew louder. Closer. Until red and blue lights flickered across the street. My chest tightened, but I didn't lower the hose. Karen waved frantically, pointing at me like a deranged traffic conductor. Officer, arrest him. He assaulted me. She screeched, dripping wet, hair plastered against her face. The officers stepped out slowly, eyes darting between us, between the dripping woman and the father holding a hose like a smoking gun. One of them, a tall black officer with calm eyes, spoke first. Sir, put the hose down. I obeyed, dropping it with a wet slap against the pavement. My kids clutched each other. Silent now. Karen rushed forward, theatrics in full swing. He attacked me without reason. I was enforcing homeowners association regulations and he sprayed me in front of children. Look at me. She spread her arms like a martyr nailed to an invisible cross. But then, something shifted. A neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, stepped out holding her phone. I got it all on video, she announced, voice steady, almost triumphant. She was stealing from the kids. He only sprayed her after she tried to walk away with their things. Another neighbor chimed in. Then another. A small crowd formed, murmurs building into a storm. Phones pointed. Cameras recorded. Karen's face drained of color. The officer turned to her. Mom, did you take those basketballs from the property? She stammered. I was enforcing. Answer the question. He pressed. I removed them because they violated policy. The kids cried out together, voices trembling but strong. She steals from us all the time. The officer exhaled, heavy and deliberate. Mom, property disputes are civil matters, not your personal enforcement project. And taking items without permission is theft. Karen's jaw dropped. Theft. I'm the Homeowners Association president. The officer didn't flinch. Doesn't make you above the law. The crowd gasped, some even clapping. Karen spun around, eyes darting, searching for allies. None came. Her empire of intimidation crumbled right there on the driveway, piece by piece, as neighbors shook their heads and whispered. But here's the twist. The bitter, ironic one. 2 weeks later, a letter slid under my door. It wasn't from the police. Not from the county. It was from the HOA's attorney. Karen had filed a lawsuit. Defamation of character. Emotional distress. Harassment. The letter read in bold. My stomach dropped. She twisted the entire event into a legal attack, weaponizing the system she thought she owned. I laughed. A dry, hollow laugh, before slamming the letter down on the kitchen table. My wife looked at me, eyes wide. Are we really being sued for defending our kids? Yes, I whispered, the weight of it pressing down on me. She lost the battle in front of the neighbors, so now she wants to win in court. But what Karen didn't know, what none of them knew, was that my brother-in-law was a civil rights attorney and he'd been waiting for years to bring her homeowners association to its knees. So maybe this wasn't the end. Maybe it was just the start of a bigger reckoning. Because sometimes karma doesn't just knock. Kicks down the door, dripping wet and holding a garden hose. And that's how it ends for now. Messy, loud, bitter, ironic. Just like a real homeowners association war. Thank you for sticking through this roller coaster of neighborhood chaos, and if you want more stories where justice clashes with arrogance until even a lawsuit can't hide the truth, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel today. You can't leave your trash can out past 6 p.m. It's against regulations. That voice, that sharp, nasal, holier-than-thou tone that makes your stomach twist before you even turn around. I didn't need to guess. It was her Karen from the HOA. I was just rolling in from a 12-hour workday, sweat soaking through the back of my shirt, my arms full of groceries, when she struck like a hawk on a leash. Her little dog yapped at my feet like it knew this was its cue in some demented play. I blinked. It's 6:03, Karen. She crossed her arms, lips pursed so tight it looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Rules are rules. If we let you slide, everyone will think they can break them. I wanted to scream, or laugh, or both. Instead, I just sighed and wheeled the trash can back, my bag starting to slip from my arms. That should have been it. Just a petty moment in another petty Tuesday. But nope, Karen wasn't done. The next morning, I woke up to a citation duct-taped to my door. Red ink. Official HOA letterhead. My violation was recorded with a time-stamped photo. Are you kidding me? She had crouched in the bushes to take a picture of my trash can. It escalated fast from there. In less than 2 weeks, I had 2 citations for improper mailbox paint. It was matte black, not glossy. 1 warning for grass height inconsistencies. And a formal complaint filed because my garage light was too bright at night. I was fuming, burning. I could feel the rage curl behind my eyes like smoke in a sealed car. My wife, bless her heart, tried to calm me. It's not worth it, babe. She thrives on this. But it was worth it, because she crossed a line. I got a call from my office manager, not my day job, my real business. Hey, Mr. Cross. There's a woman here from an HOA committee, says you've violated some covenant and she brought paperwork? Wait, what? Apparently, Karen had driven downtown to the office I own and tried to lodge a formal complaint with my leasing department. That would have been mildly amusing, if not for the fact that she then threatened to sue. Yep, she said I was in clear and knowing violation of HOA protocol, and she would seek legal damages if I continued to disrespect the HOA charter. I had to sit down. I literally laughed out loud in my car. Because here's the thing Karen didn't know. I'm not just a homeowner. I'm a commercial property owner. In fact, I own the entire strip plaza where the HOA leases their tiny, glass front office. Oh yeah, their building?
Mine.
That fact alone made my spine tingle with righteous vengeance. But I wasn't about to go scorched earth, not yet. No, I had something better. I met with my attorney, pulled every lease agreement, payment history, and clause I had tucked away. And wouldn't you know it? The HOA office had been underpaying rent for nearly a year due to a forged lease amendment signed by their former president, who'd since been ousted for guess what? Fraud. Twist number 1. Now I had grounds to nullify their lease entirely or charge full market double rate retroactively. But I didn't stop there. Oh no. Karen wanted to play dirty? I had dirt legal, clean, court-back dirt. So I scheduled a polite little sit-down. Karen showed up in a pinched skirt suit, arms full of printed HOA regulations, looking like a smug real estate agent. She brought back up 2 other board members, both of whom looked deeply uncomfortable. Mr. Cross, she began, as if we were in a courtroom, we've come to resolve your ongoing noncompliance with HOA standards. I held up a finger. Actually, I've come to talk about your compliance with your lease. Karen blinked. Our lease. I slid the folder across the table. My lawyer smiled behind his glasses. In reviewing your payment records and your former president's actions, we've found substantial discrepancies. This forged addendum, I tapped the paper, voids your current agreement. The room went silent. Karen's mouth flapped like a fish. That was approved years ago. It wasn't. Not legally. And as the property owner, I'm within full rights to raise rent to market value effective immediately. You can't do that, she barked. Oh, but I can. And I already have. You'll receive formal notice by Friday. You'll be hearing from our lawyer, she snapped. I hope so, I said calm and slow, because mine's already drafting the lawsuit for back rent and damages. And that was the moment she realized. She wasn't in control anymore. She stood there, red-faced, eyes darting as if trying to find a fire escape that didn't exist. Her backup committee members looked like they wanted to melt into the carpet. I ended the meeting with a smile and a handshake to her lawyer, not to her. That night, she posted a 400-word rant on our neighborhood Facebook page, full of half-truths and veiled threats. But guess what? Nobody bought it. Turns out, when the HOA tries to sue someone who owns their own office, people start asking questions. And when those people dig and find out about the forged lease and backdoor fraud, yeah, the tide turned. Neighbors who once nodded quietly at Karen now crossed the street to avoid her. A few even left handwritten notes in my mailbox thanking me for standing up to her. She tried one last stunt, showing up at the next HOA meeting with a petition to remove me from the neighborhood committee. Only I wasn't even on it. She looked ridiculous waving that paper like it meant anything. 1 month later, the HOA moved out of the building. Couldn't afford the new rent. But Karen wasn't done. Onash never goes quietly. A few weeks after the HOA moved out of the building, I got served. She filed a lawsuit against me. Yes, seriously. In it, she accused me of intimidation, unlawful eviction, and you'll love this, emotional distress due to retaliatory rent increases. I nearly choked on my coffee reading that last part. My attorney chuckled. This is going to be fun. We responded swiftly. Not only did we submit the full audit showing the forged lease signed by a man currently under criminal investigation, but we included copies of every citation Karen issued me personally, time-stamped and categorized under selective enforcement. We had neighborhood statements, surveillance footage, and email threads where she openly bragged about putting me in my place. Oh, and a fun little clip from that HOA meeting where she said, I don't care who owns what, I make the rules here. That courtroom? Dead silent when it played. Karen sat stone-faced, flanked by a lawyer who looked like he regretted every life decision that led him to that courtroom. The judge dismissed her lawsuit with prejudice, meaning she couldn't refile it again. And just to twist the knife, he ordered her to pay my legal fees. Karen stormed out, slamming the courtroom door behind her, heels clacking like gunshots on tile. That was the last time I ever saw her in person. A month later, she resigned from the HOA board for personal reasons. Nobody threw her a party. Nobody even said goodbye. The new board? Way more relaxed. Fair. even neighborly. Sometimes I walk by the old HOA office now Sunrise Smoothie Company and smile. My son helped me paint the inside. It smells like mango and pineapple now instead of old printer toner and entitlement. Looking back, I didn't plan any of this. I never wanted to go to war with Karen. But when someone pushes you too far, when they bully the whole neighborhood under the mask of rules, while hiding their own fraud, well, sometimes karma needs a little push. And if you ever find yourself being harassed by a power-tripping HOA Karen, check the lease. You just might own the building. Like stories where karma hits back hard, and lawsuits get flipped on the frauds who filed them. Subscribe to the channel, you won't believe what Karen does next. I couldn't believe what I was seeing through the blinds. There she was again, Trisha Mathers, the self-proclaimed president of our HOA, dragging a heavy duffel bag through my backyard. At first, I thought she was stealing garden tools like she did last spring. But no. This time, she was smuggling something. Something worse. "Mom," my son whispered behind me. "You might want to let this play out." I turned to face him. There was that sharp focus in his eyes again, the kind of steel you'd only expect from someone training to be a federal agent. He hadn't even blinked. "You think she's doing something illegal?" I whispered. He didn't answer, just nodded, slow and sure. That's when I saw the second woman, Trisha's sister, Melanie's, linking behind the shed like some low-budget spy. My jaw dropped. They were both in on it? The same two women who slapped me with a $400 fine for painting my shutters a non-regulation shade of eggshell? I felt my blood boil. Let me back up a second. These women had been a thorn in my side since the day I moved into Red Juniper Estates. You'd think paying HOA fees would at least buy you peace, right? Nope. Not with Karen Incarnate running the show. Trisha and Melanie made it their full-time job to harass everyone on the block, especially me. Something about me being a single mom who didn't take crap must have threatened their control. Last month, they cited me for having visible weeds. I have succulents, for crying out loud. 2 days later, I caught Melanie measuring my mailbox post with a ruler. Said it was half an inch too high. Seriously? But this was something else. From the shadows of our kitchen, my son and I watched Trisha unzip the duffel. Inside, dozens of laminated cards in plastic sleeves, all stacked in rows. I squinted. "Those look like IDs." I breathed out. "Fake ones," he replied quietly. "You can tell from the misaligned holograms." I blinked. "How do you know what fake holograms look like?" He smirked. "Quantico." I almost laughed. They didn't know they were being watched. That was their first mistake. Their second? Using my backyard as a smuggling route. A soft click broke the silence. My son was already filming on his phone. Zooming in. Every gesture, every whisper, every handoff was being recorded. Trisha glanced nervously toward the fence. "She's done this before," I muttered. He nodded. "Looks like it's not her first delivery either." Then came the twist. A third figure appeared, someone in a baggy hoodie and jeans, walking with a limp. Trisha handed him a stack of IDs and he slipped her a wad of cash. My son zoomed in again. "Wait, I know that guy," he muttered. Oh my God, that's Shane Kilroy." "Who the hell is Shane?" "He's on a watch list. Suspected of trafficking minors. He vanished 6 months ago." My heart thudded against my chest. Trisha Mathers was linked to that? A beat of silence passed. Then I turned and hissed, "You're calling it in, right?" He didn't answer. Instead, he tapped a few keys on his phone and sent the footage. "Already did. Bureau's gonna want a live feed if possible. Mind if I borrow your old drone?" I nodded dumbly. He was already moving, pulling the small black case from the closet, powering it up. My hands trembled as I poured myself a splash of wine. Was this really happening? Outside, the women zipped the bag shut and waved the buyer off. They were laughing, as if none of this mattered, as if the laws didn't apply to them, as if the thousands of dollars in fines they'd slapped on honest neighbors were just part of some sick little game. 10 minutes later, the drone was in the air. My son controlled it with the kind of eerie precision that made me wonder what else they were teaching him in FBI training. The footage was streaming directly to his encrypted app. "They're heading back toward the HOA clubhouse," he said. "Bet that's where they keep the real stash." I narrowed my eyes. "What do you want to do?" He looked at me calmly. "You've been quiet too long, Mom. Time to push back." Oh, I smiled. Finally. Time for my turn. The next morning, the neighborhood group chat exploded. "HOA emergency meeting tonight, attendance required." Attached was a blurry photo of Maze. With the caption, "Tampering with drone surveillance near HOA property. Investigation pending." I almost choked on my coffee. Trisha had the audacity to try flipping the script already? "Wow," I said out loud. "That was fast." "Classic Karen move," my son said, sipping his black coffee like a smug little agent in training. But I wasn't worried, because I had something she didn't. The truth. And it was about to bite her right in her well-manicured behind. That night, I showed up to the HOA meeting early. So did half the neighborhood. Whispers flew across the room like sparks. Everyone had heard something, but no one knew the whole story. Not yet. Trisha entered like she owned the place, strutting in heels too high for her dignity. Melanie followed close behind, clutching a leather binder like it was her personal Bible. "Let's begin," Trisha announced, tapping the mic. "There have been some troubling accusations made against your HOA board. I'd like to clarify." "Actually," I interrupted, calm, steady, with a smile that could cut glass. "I'd like to show everyone a little something first." She blinked. "You what?" My son stepped forward, plugged his phone into the projector. The screen lit up. There they were. Trisha, Melanie, the ID exchange, the cash, the known felon. The room went dead silent. Trisha stammered. "This is fake. You doctored this." "Really?" I said sweetly. "That's funny. Because the FBI confirmed its authenticity this morning. In fact," I paused for dramatic effect. "They're outside." Gasps. Actual gasps. Outside, the unmistakable black SUVs rolled in. Blue windbreakers. Badges. Real ones. Karen's face turned as pale as her teeth-bleached smile. "Trisha Mathers," an agent said, stepping inside. "Melanie Collins. You're under arrest for aiding and abetting identity fraud, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice." Melanie actually screamed. I just stood there, arms crossed, letting the truth land like thunder. And oh, did it echo. Trisha tried to make a run for Ithiel's, clicking wildly across the tile floor like a desperate metronome, but it was useless. 2 agents caught her at the door, pushed her against the wall, and cuffed her while Melanie collapsed into a sobbing mess. Her designer purse clattered to the floor, spilling out a handful of prepaid debit cards and another fake ID. The neighbors were stunned. Old Mr. Jenkins from Lot 14 leaned over to me and muttered, "She fined me $300 for having a non-approved mailbox, all while smuggling fake government IDs." I nodded. "Karen Justice, right?" Another neighbor shook his head. "This whole time she acted like the neighborhood cop, and she was the criminal." The agents read them their rights right there in front of the entire HOA. My son kept filming, quietly sending live footage to his supervisor. I couldn't tell if I was more proud of him or more relieved that the nightmare was finally over. And then came the kicker. Just as Trisha was being walked out in handcuffs, she hissed at me, "You'll regret this. I have lawyers. This is harassment." I smiled without blinking. "See you in court. You're gonna love the lawsuit I'm filing for harassment, defamation, and unauthorized entry onto private property. And trespassing." She froze, because suddenly it wasn't just about the FBI or the felonies. It was about the years she'd spent bullying me and dozens of others. And I was done being quiet. As she was loaded into the back of the SUV, a few neighbors clapped. Literally clapped. Like they were at a Broadway show where the villain finally got dragged off stage. Melanie sobbed something about just doing what she was told. But no one bought it. She'd held that clipboard with way too much pleasure over the years. No mercy. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on the porch with my son. We didn't say much, just watched the stars. Then he leaned over and grinned. "You're kind of a badass, Mom." I chuckled. Takes one to raise one. By morning, our HOA group chat had changed its name. New Juniper neighbors, no Karens allowed. I'll drink to that. If you enjoyed this wild ride of karma, corruption, and a lawsuit well earned, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more true stories that'll leave you saying, justice tastes best when served with receipts.